microphone and I'm playing over the vocal microphone. I occasionally, if I'm playing with a band, I'm always using an amplifier. If I play alone, it depends. Sometimes I'll have an amplifier, but I won't use it. Sometimes I'll play more amplified. It depends. I mean, I have an amplifier right here. Am I answering your question?
No, I thought it's no problem with the feet because with the microphone and the harmonica.
Oh yes, usually yes.
Much louder.
Yes, well, I mean that's true. If I'm doing a real concert,
Yes.
I have microphones. I do a sound balance, and the sound is balanced, so you will always hear the harmonica. I only play completely acoustic at house parties, karma parties, something like that. But if I'm playing a concert, I'm always mic'd. So then and I have a sound person, so this is not a problem. Yes?
So you would also mic the foot tapping?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Which most people don't do that, but I put a microphone on my foot. Actually, on the floor, usually is how I do it, next to my foot. And sometimes, sometimes you'll find that with a vocal microphone, sometimes the tone of the sound for the foot is too high. So you hear the difference. What you want to, then I would wrap a towel around it. You understand? I'm trying to speak relatively slowly because it's not, I appreciate that English is not everyone's first language. But this is an important thing. Sometimes you'll find that you'll have problems with the foot microphone feeding back. Like this. So what you want to do is get the sound person to turn off the high and the treble ends, usually all the way, because you want the sound to be as basic as possible. You hear it? You see? And this is with the effect you would get if you put a towel around the microphone. It gets more, because you want it to sound more like a drum, more like a bass drum.
You could use a bass drum as well. It's small.
Yes, you could, and I know people that do, but that's too much for me. Yeah.
Man, this thing is loud.
This will demonstrate the difference. Or if you're going to use a microphone and an amplifier, again, you have the possibility of making more colors with it. You can change the tone a bit. So I find, again, it's a useful tool to have if you're going to play solo. Did you want to ask a question about that? If you use a microphone, use an amplifier, you get a lot of different tones you can use. Also, and I'll do this at the concert, you're playing over a vocal microphone, it makes a big difference where you're standing. You can use the microphone to, you get closer and further away, you can make different sounds with it. You can use shading, get different colors. If you get right on the microphone, that's a different sound too. You have to think about all of these things you can do to give yourself to make it more interesting for your audience and for yourself as well. There's also the use of your hands, of course. Hands become very important. If you're going to, people say, okay, well, how can I use my hands and play with a microphone? Well, good way to do that. You say, well, I don't really want to make noise at home with an amplifier. It's too loud, blah, blah, blah. But I would like to use an amplifier if I'm going to play at a jam session, for example. Good way to practice is simply to just take the microphone and play it. It doesn't have to be plugged into anything. Because what you want to do, you need to have your hands get your hands used to having a microphone actually in your hand. The best way, again, is to do it. It's not necessary to have it in an amplifier at all. I found this out from being a kid, living, in my parents' house. Well, that's too much noise. And yeah, you can't practice late at night and blah, blah, blah. So you just take your microphone. Because I started out as an acoustic player. I didn't use amplifiers for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, something like that, 6, 7 years. I just played acoustically. So then I wanted to play with bands, and so I had to develop microphone technique. I wanted to do it as quickly as possible because it's a very different thing playing with your hands if you never use a microphone and then starting to play with a microphone. It takes a while to get used to it. So in order to make it faster, I just carried a microphone around with me and tried to practice holding it as much as I could. That's something you can do. Yes?
And the distance of the microphone to the instrument?
Yes. What about it?
Yeah. How many centimeters? If you
Okay. That's something that it varies from person to person. After a while, once you get used to using it, you'll find that you can, if you vary the distance, again, you can get different tones and different shapes. Everybody does it differently. Some of the guys really want to hold it right up against the microphone. And they make a very tight cup and they play very hard, they blow very hard. I don't do that. For one thing, most people hold it in their left hand and cup it with their right. I hold it in my right hand and cup it with my left. It makes a difference because for me, for most people, the high notes are free. It's easier to get to them. For me, you see, it's one of the reasons why I don't usually go past the sixth note, because it's as a child, well, as a young musician, it was more difficult for me to get there. So I developed a style that it's extremely simple and basic. What can I say? Well, that's the truth. And I also hold it like this. So my natural position is further away than most people. See, that's my natural position. It's like this. And that's a lot further away than most guys who have it more or less like this. So what you hear in my sound maybe is more air than in most people's sound. You know, then you're talking about technique and the reasons for sound. This is one of the reasons. See, did you see that? Can everyone see? That's how most people, what most guys are doing. Of course, with their opposite hand. Sorry.